What's going on, Conscious Crew? It is your host, Conscious TV. Welcome to another episode of CTV. Okay. It is 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I am happy to be amongst you all, honey. My normal time to really upload or to even go live really tends to be at night, but I'm also learning how to kind of just like do content when the spirit hits me. So I'm trying to live like more in the actual moment. Yeah, no. I know these types of hours folk be at work and doing everything, but it's okay. I just gotta go where the spirit lead me to go. And on this day, we're going to get into a conversation about Tiffany Pollard, aka New York. You guys know her from her infamous time on season 1 and season 2 of Flavor of Love. Honey, and her infamous mother, Sister Patterson. Okay. Now before we get into this discussion, I want to say or give an update first and foremost. You know, we did some commentary last night. If you guys did not get a chance to see my Funky Dineva, Chloe Bailey, and Method Man's wife video, definitely check that out from last night. Good news is Funky Dineva got his channel back up and running, so that is wonderful, honey. It must be real nice to have 300,000 something plus subscribers and to be able to get YouTube up off their ass, honey. I still stand by everything I said and encourage Funky Dineva to do, because YouTube was dead ass wrong for deleting and terminating his channel to begin with. But it is back up and running. So thank the Funky Dineva gods. Okay. I also want to thank all of my contributors and donators. I love you guys so much. I had quite a adventurous night last night. A very witchery night last night. So yeah, it was an interesting night last night for me personally. But I had a good time with you guys last night. So let's just get straight into it. Matter of fact, before I get into it, let me just say hello to I Am Here For It. What's going on, baby mother? How are you doing, boo? What's going on, Nadine? Baby father got his chest meat out. Right. Like I told y'all, titty free, honey, all 2021. Hey, Lucy. Hey, Deanna. Hey, Lakeisha. Hey, Joanne. Hey, Kim. What's going on, baby mother nutritionist? Hi, Demita. Hey, CTV. Hey, chat. Can't stay long. I know everybody's working. I was dead. I got the hiccups too. I was dead ass wrong for going live, but it is what it is. What's going on, Casey? You guys hit that thumbs up for me, honey. It's 24 you in the building and only 8 likes. Let's get these thumbs up, please. Okay. Oh my God, these hiccups are going to get on my nerve. Okay, so let's get into it, right? Let me share my screen first and foremost. My goodness. My goodness. Oh my God. Chrome. I think this is the image here. Ooh. Okay. So this is Tiffany Pollard. You guys. Hey, Travis. What's going on, Blue Phoenix? And honestly, no, not really. That's like saying every black person is hood, ghetto, ratchet, and like most, we always take certain things way too far. Well, we're going to talk about it today, honey. Definitely going to get into it. So this is Tiffany Pollard, you guys. Season 1, Season 2 of Flavor Flav. You guys might have remembered her from her infamous sex scene from Flavor Love 2 when her and Flav was in the infamous Las Vegas casino situation, honey, and them doors closed, and we heard all types of abominable sounds coming from Tiffany as Flavor Flav was thrusting that pipe all up into her, honey. Quite a show. Then she also went on to also do I Love New York Season 1, Season 2. New York Goes to Work. She did a plethora of reality shows, and she's probably been one of the most successful black female reality stars out of VH1. So much love to bad bitch shit. What's going on, Classic Queen? I know she ain't transphobic being she on Maddie new show. So I'm gonna first and foremost start this dialogue off from a article as a little backstory written up by metro.co.uk. So the article, and I got hiccups, you guys, so please excuse me. The article reads, Tiffany Pollard has been accused of transphobia after she accused a female reality TV show contestant of being a man. The 38-year-old has long been popular in the LGBTQ plus community due to her meme-worthy catchphrases and reality show appearances, including the notorious mix-up on Celebrity Big Brother in 2016 when she believed David Guest had died instead of David Bowie. However, Pollard has come under fire for comments she made to Tiffany Walker on the recent dating show One More Chance. Pollard, also known as New York, was a guest on the series to help Kamal Chance Givens, who previously appeared on her show I Love New York, figure out which woman he wanted to keep in the running for his heart. The Flavor of Love star interviewed the remaining competitors, including Tiffany Walker, who was given the nickname Believable on the show. In the clip, which has been shared on social media, Pollard said, "You aren't very forthcoming with me. You didn't shed any light on the questions that I had, and I feel like you have a situation. I do believe that you are a man." Walker, who is not transgender, said, "I know I'm not," with Pollard continuing, "Does it bother you when I tell you that I feel like you're a man, that you have genitalia like penis and balls and sweaty dick? What does that do to you? Does it fuck with you at all?" Walker said no, with the reality star saying, "That's what scares me, and that's why you're going home." A Twitter user named Macau shared the clip and wrote, "I'm still not over New York being violently transphobic to this woman. Like, I honestly, truly cannot have or enjoy a single thing." A response read, "On top of that, for New York, someone who has made so much fucking money from the gay community alone, spending so much time surrounded by us, for her not to know this isn't okay is wild to me. I hate that for us." Candy Moose, who is set to star on RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13, tweeted, "Disgusting. My best friend is trans, and this kind of behavior is unacceptable and dangerous. At Tiffany Pollard, own up to this and apologize." Drag queen Chloe Carly wrote, "Wow," at Tiffany Pollard. "Was one of the biggest reality TV stars I gave praise to, and after this, I don't know if I can rock with her anymore. This is extremely disrespectful," with Drag Race star Pheromone, I don't even watch RuPaul Drag Race. Pheromone replying, "You, what the hell is this?" Speaking to metro.co.uk, Walker 26 said, throughout the show, the household kept calling me a man. All I can say is that I was born a female and kept it moving, you know? I didn't find it necessary to fight with the bullies within the house. I chose to stay gracious. I also didn't know if people were saying that because they thought that or just bullying me for ratings or to get to me. The model and actress who goes under the name The Last Skywalker on social media added, I support the LGBTQ community and they've been very supportive throughout the airing of the show. The only thing I can say is no, I'm not trans, but I have love for the LGBT community and grateful for their kindness and support. Before Tiffany appeared on One More Chance, Walker was reportedly given the name Believable because Chance thought she was a man as well, and he asked another contestant to look at her private parts to confirm that she was female. Wow. Chance also gave the nickname Mangina to an actual trans woman on the show and repeatedly referred to her as bro and a man, even asking if you got balls, you're still a guy, right? The show was broadcast on the subscription-based network Zeus. Pollard shot the okay. So this show, girl, it's Zeus. There was a lot of problematic behavior on this One More Chance show. I'm not really fucking surprised. When the trailer for One More Chance came out and I saw that they had an actual trans woman on the show, I was actually really, really, really excited, even though not for a split second did I ever believe that that trans woman was going to make it past the first episode. But I thought that the network thought that it would be progressive, okay, to have a trans woman a part of the cast and a part of the lineup, and that it would make what's his name? Chance? Is this Chance or Real? It might make Chance look more progressive. But contrary to popular belief, the trans woman wasn't even well received on the show. A lot of the viewers said that she was messy and belligerent and unnecessarily confrontational, as if she was trying to make a point. And then there was the blatant disrespect from Chance himself toward this trans woman, questioning her gender identity, calling her a man, etc. And then just to have this cis hetero woman on the show also because of her features. The woman who is in question of being a man is a very pretty woman, very voluptuous. She loves hair, she loves makeup. And some people may feel like she's giving drag queen realness or that she's somehow giving trance in her persona. A lot of cis women who are into beauty, who are into hair, who are into fashion, who don't mind going really big. Sometimes they get a lot of heat for their hyper femininity and their love for makeup, and they get accused of being drag queenish, etc. Now, if you guys want to see the actual clip, there is a YouTuber by the name of S. Hutchison who actually has clips from the show uploaded on her platform. I will leave a link to her channel and the video in my description box, and shout out to S. Hutchison. I'm going to say that the whole show was completely disgraceful. And the clip involving Tiffany Pollard was absolutely disgusting. And before I even get into the meat and the potatoes of this commentary, I do want to say that Tiffany Pollard has come out since the airing of this episode and apologized to the LGBT community. She kind of tried to justify her behavior by saying, look, she was just asking an honest question. She doesn't have any issues with trans women. She oftentimes gets mistaken as a trans woman herself because she has very striking features. She's tall. She's vivacious. And she doesn't mind being called a drag queen or being called a trans woman because she finds all women beautiful. She didn't mean any offense. And then I think she also went a little further and did an Instagram live with one of her good girlfriends who happens to be a trans woman, and they spoke about this incident. And I think the Instagram collaboration was an attempt for New York to take responsibility and for her to be called out. But some people felt that the trans woman who was Tiffany Pollard's friend was taking it just a little bit too easy. and really didn't screw up in her ass the way that she really needed to. So I'm actually going to do that here. Hey T Lounge, what's going on? They hired a gay man to act like a trans woman. Yeah, wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, no one should tell your story but you, and that at the time sounds like what they was doing, but still no excuses. Absolutely. So, so here's my thing, right? God, this is another conversation I hate having. To be honest. Look, because we talked about this a little bit on the gentleman's panel last night as well. To make a long story short, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. Jeez. Okay, well, I'll start with this. Do I believe that Tiffany Pollard is transphobic? I'm going to say yes and no to that. And this is what I mean by that. I have come to the conclusion that the very same way that racism works is exactly the same way that homophobia and transphobia works. There is a movement of millennials who are who take the approach toward white America as being inherently racism, even if you're not overtly racist, because you simply exist and benefit from a racist construct. You exist and benefit from that racist system and ideology, even if you're one of the good white virtuous folk of America, right? Because from birth, as a white person, you are conditioned to believe that you have every shot in the world. And because the gatekeepers of power within this country are white, you will always have an extra head start in life simply because the people who hold the power look like you. Therefore, the possibilities for you are practically endless, especially in comparison to non-white persons in this country. The same thing would go in that case for homophobia and transphobia. All of us, whether we're gay or straight in this country, are conditioned to be homophobic. That includes cis hetero men and women as well. From the time you come into this world, you are grown to other queer people, to marginalized queer people. That's reinforced by religion. That's reinforced by the status quo. That's reinforced by what's considered normal. And queer people are put within that taboo box. Okay, what this means is that because I was a part of a panel that Rebel Sun from the Gentleman's Panel had invited me to, and we got into this discussion about why cis hetero people are very uncomfortable with seeing public displays of affection from same gender loving people and from queer people across the spectrum. I said that the reason why a lot of so-called queer loving straight people and a lot of so-called inclusive straight loving people always seem to only be inclusive up to a certain point is because the truth is all all straight people are recovering homophobes in their own right. You will find if you talk to a lot of queer loving men and women, like a lot of straight queer loving men and women, if you talk to them long enough, you will find that they are okay with queer people. They believe that queer people should have the right to marry. They believe that queer relationships should be considered normal like any other relationship. But if when it comes to children, they don't believe that children should be exposed to same gender loving relationships or same gender loving affections. You will find that this issue is exacerbated when queer people show up within children's cartoons. And then there is a protest and a insurrection erected. You like that combination there about where the line should be drawn. So in my own personal experience, I have found that straight even very liberal, straight people who are pro LGBT community are pro to an extent. And you're pro to an extent because somewhere in the back of your consciousness and your psyche, the homophobic program is still running. It's still running. It's still operating in the background of your psyche. This would take a lot of deep introspective work for straight folk to really clear up. But straight folk are going to have to begin by being able to really acknowledge just how encrypted and how conditioned they've been by the repetitious homophobic and transphobic rhetoric that has been spewed since their time in this world. There was not a church sermon. There was not a family get together. There was never a moment in class, in school, growing up in urban neighborhoods where you could not really get away from the othering of queer people. And all of it is violent, even from straight men hugging and dapping each other up, saying no homo. Even with what I like to call this passive aggressive, covert homophobic behavior, which might not be vocal. It might not be a person yelling out the F-bomb or calling a trans woman a man to her face. It may be in the fact that you will get up out of your chair if you see if you believe a queer person is about to sit next to you, that you will become visibly shaken and visibly uncomfortable, even if you don't verbalize it. All of this is a display of homophobia from the micro to the absolute macro. Okay? So for me, I don't see I don't look at the straight community as being I just believe that there are straight people who are less homophobic than others. Some straight folk are so non-homophobic that it's barely recognizable. But once again, if you really start digging into their train of thought, and if you put certain things in place, like cartoons, like children, like if they want their own child to be trans or gay, you will find this is where straight people draw the line. As progressive as they may be, they don't want their own sons to be gay. And if they don't mind it, they damn sure don't want him to be effeminate and gay. They damn sure don't want their children to be trans, even though they may have trans adult friends and or trans homo friends. And I just want straight people to know that you may not mean anything by it, but it is transphobic and homophobic nonetheless. It is. And if you can't call it that, that is what leaves room for Tiffany Pollard to feel okay and comfortable in her transphobic rhetoric toward this cis hetero woman who wasn't even a trans woman. If you don't realize that if you want to know if you are truly inclusive and you truly have no issues and hangups and quarrels toward the LGBT community, then that means, because your children is always going to be the most triggering thing in your life. If you are completely comfortable with your own children being queer and or trans, then you may be a hetero person who has truly dissolved and dismantled homophobia and the transphobic ideologies that are embedded within your mind. But if you find that you have no desire for your children, or you would have an issue with your children being queer, that means that on a micro level, boo, you are still wrestling with transphobia and homophobia. And just because it's on a micro level doesn't mean that it's not that. It's still that. A little bit of blood on the floor, it's still blood. It doesn't matter whether it's a pool of it, whether it's an ocean of it, or whether it's a drop of it. We still call a thing a thing. Blood is still blood. So when I say that yes and no, Tiffany Pollard is transphobic, not transphobic, she, for the most part, may not be the most disrespectful, the most abrasive, the most violent of transphobes, but her attitude and her rhetoric and the way she made it her business to really call this woman out and then to assign genitalia and gender identity are not even mutually exclusive. So not only were you transphobic as hell, you was just completely fucking ignorant and you didn't know what the fuck you were talking about. The whole point of all these discussions about gender identity is to talk about gender identity exclusive to sex. I mean, to talk about gender identity removed from biology, gender identity removed from genitalia. So even in your words, Tiffany Pollard, even if she would have been a trans woman and she would have had a dick, a sweaty dick, as you made it your business to say, one is not mutually exclusive to the other. You're stupid. You're dumb. You're dumb and you're stupid. And people like you shouldn't even put your mouth on LGBT people until you at least know what the fuck you're talking about. But let's get into also what the issue is here. There are plenty of people who like to think that they can isolate their insults toward queer people and it not be a reflection of how they supposedly feel toward the entire LGBT community. Miss My Neck, My Wig, Miss Kia tried this on the offset of the Queen's Court falling apart. And she made it her business to go in on Madison and call her a Decepticon. And then she got pressed and mad and frizzy and became even more toothless when gay venues started taking her off the roster because they did not want to actively support someone who was so visibly, comfortably, and passionately disrespectful toward the very community who were putting them on the lineup and were willing to put that coin in their pocket, who they were willing to support and put up on billboards. So rightfully so, many queer events, many queer club promoters subtracted Kia's ass from the roster. And Kia spazzed out and went on this whole rant about how Madison and the Maddie Mob and everybody is ridiculous for making her quarrel with T.S. Madison a whole issue for the community. Your statements, Kia, became an issue toward all trans women or became an insult toward all trans women when you decided to attract the trans identity. See, I find it interesting that this really isn't more simple than really what it is. If you don't have an issue with trans women, but you need to insult a trans woman because you got an issue with a trans woman, that means talk about and insult everything else but her trans identity. Very simple. If you're not a homophobe, but you get into it with a homosexual, talk about and call that homosexual out on everything else but his orientation. But once you go to the orientation, once you go to the trans identity, therein you have it, homophobia and transphobia. There you have it. Because if you don't have an issue with trans women, it wouldn't even be a point of reference in a heat of moment, in the heat of the moment. If you don't have no issues and quarrels and you're not a homophobe, in the heat of the moment, that would not be your point of focus. But when that constantly becomes your go-to and where you go to, You have to evaluate that. And the reason you're going to that is because, once again, that transphobic and homophobic operating system that you've been conditioned to have since you've been in this world is still running, even if it's running on low. Even if it's running on low, it's still running, boo. It's still running. Mhm. So people like Tiffany Pollard are just recovering homophobes. Recovering homophobes. And there's just spectrums with these homophobes that range from the pitchfork signs that all gays are going to hell outside of at the Pride Parade homophobes. And then there's the loving, really kind, I've been raised right enough homophobes who, for the most part, will permit you and celebrate you, but under the right circumstances and conditions, will still other you, even if it means just going out and partying with your ass this weekend and getting drunk with you and you being their good Judy, and then them going to church on Sunday and clapping as the pastor preaches a real passionate ass sermon about how gayness is an abomination. And they're in there giving a round of applause when you just got your face beat and your hair curl wand by a whole gay. When you just got your whole waist snatched and all your fashion tips from your trans girlfriend. When you just came from celebrating your queer best friend's marriage ceremony. And now you're in church clapping to the pastor, downing and hellbounding queer people. And or you're sitting before your own child who's coming out to you and is berating him or her and telling him or her how you don't accept this and this is not going to be allowed in your house, while yet you have gay friends and trans friends. I mean, this is literally the hypocrisy of our democracy. It's the mixed messaging for me, sis. It's just all the mixed messaging for me. The straight men, the straight cis hetero men who claim that they love gay people, they got no problem with gay niggas, but yet gay people can't hold hands in front of you, gay people can't kiss in front of you, and oh my God, dare a gay guy come on to you as if they're supposed to know that you're straight to begin with. It would result in absolute bloodshed, violence, and murder. It's the mixed messaging for me, sis. You just can't have it both ways. So is Tiffany Pollard a transphobe? Yes. Is she a low-level transphobe? Yes. Is she the most problematic transphobe? No. Is she, for the most part, someone who queer people could exist around without being in the utmost danger? Yes. She's not a high-level threat, but I'm still going to call a thing a thing. Black Coffee said, I could care less about what a pastor asked to say because a lot of them be gay as fuck, honey. Yeah. Oh, we all know that. The same fucking politicians who pass legislations, anti-queer legislations, be in 25-man orgies and shit, and be sleeping with children and prostitutes and all the mother fucking conservative folk. Yeah, once again, it's the hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy of our democracy for me. The same. Look, you have so-called. I know somebody right now who is allegedly supposed to be, who is a straight cisgender male content creator and claims he's very much so queer friendly and completely supportive of the community, has even stood up for the community at certain points. but who's also afraid to press like on a queer man's photo on Instagram or Facebook because of what other people may think it means if he shows support and love to that queer person. And I'm going to call a thing a thing. You're homophobic and immature and need to grow the fuck up. You cannot be out here in your message and rally behind other people's liberation, and you haven't even liberated your motherfucking self beyond the petty, childish temptations to care about what someone may think of you because you have a gay friend, or what somebody may say of you because you show love to your queer friends. You so-called loving, straight, cisgendered men who claim to not be homophobic and shit, but you can't even show your queer friends the same love that you show your straight friends, your homophobic brothers. You're homophobic and immature and out of touch. You need to liberate yourself before you even stand behind other people's liberation. Because once again, it's the double mixed messaging for me, sis. For me, it is. Now, I think I have laid off. I think, I think I only had a little bit of points. So, yeah. So, you know, I, look, I come from a Christian Orthodox family who loves me and supports me, and I know that they have their limitations when it comes to a queerness. If I brought my boyfriend to Thanksgiving, nobody would necessarily stop me because nobody can. Nobody's going to try me like that. But however, there would be people who would be comfortable, and they might be respectful enough to not say anything disrespectful, but they will be disrespectful enough to use their body and their mannerisms to communicate that disrespect. That could be in the form of not greeting my partner. That could be in the form of avoiding conversations with my partner. That could be in the form of refusing to even look at my partner as my partner. Because hate, whether it's racism, whether it's transphobia, homophobia, whether it's sexist, it's both macro and micro. It's both aggressive and subtle and passive aggressive. It's in both these forms. Even in the tattoo shop that I go to, that my tattoo artist works in, the owner there is really fucking cool. But we have never spoken. And I have spent dumb, stupid amounts of money in his shop on my tattoo artist getting work done on my body. I help keep the lights on in that motherfucker. But we don't speak. Not even so much as a hi. Now, I don't give a damn enough to not go there. Because as long as you're willing to keep it to yourself, I can be a big boy. I'm not really into legislating people's attitudes. Like, I would never try to appeal to someone who has an issue with gay people. That's not my fight to fight. You're the homophobe, not me. That's for you to work out in your soul salvation. So you won't stop me ever from the pep in my step and from the way that I move and shake in this world. Never. And for you to not even be able to bring yourself to speak to a queer person, baby, that's real deep. You really done made it real too deep. But I also get it. And that's a whole nother story about Black men's issues with homophobia and transgenderism, or with homosexuality and transgenderism. Nonetheless, it is what it is. So All in all, I'm glad that Tiffany Pollard apologized. It's also interesting to see how cis women are also impacted by homophobia and transgender and transphobia. How cis women don't even have the luxury of being able to do them the way that they want to do them without being insulted and called out of their name or being misgendered themselves because of the issue of transphobia and homophobia and misogyny. And what's real interesting about like men being afraid of like masculine features on a woman, because cis hetero women have naturally masculine features themselves. Some cis women naturally have broad shoulders. Some cis women have a boyish body frame, or what would be called a body frame, a masculine facial frame. Some cis hetero women have very chiseled faces. There are some cis hetero women that I've seen who look more masculine than any trans woman who I've ever seen. And that's just their natural genetic makeup. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. What I find to be illogical is how men can make a big deal of this when their narrative is that women come from men, even though we know that it's truly the other way around. But most of these Americans are Christian folk and have Christian ideologies. And in your own ideology, woman comes from you. So why would you be afraid when you see aspects of yourself represented within the female community? They gave Blue Ivy hell for looking more like Jay-Z than they did looking like Beyonce when she was growing up. So what? She looks more like her father. She comes from her father. Men, for the most part, are going to have the dominant genes any fucking way. So what? So what? The superficial aesthetic ranking of femininity and masculinity, when femininity and masculinity don't have very little to do with your physiological makeup to begin with. It's really stupid and dumb. And then the same world wants to push against that and create these hyper feminine standards for women, but then also critique women when women are trying to hyper feminize themselves. You can't have it both ways. You can't tell me you don't want me to look like a man, and then when I go to the extreme, unfortunately, to look like a woman, because the pendulum always swings to the complete opposite to correct whatever the issue is. Then you're going to call me a drag queen and a trans woman and tell me that I don't love myself and that I depend too much on makeup. But you're the same one swiping left on my profile when I'm in my natural state. You're the same one calling me butt ugly and mocking me so it's just like, once again, it's just the hypocrisy of our entire democracy. For me, like black men would call Serena Williams masculine, but got mad as soon as she married. I just saw that comment. Let me find that comment. But got mad when she married a white man that appreciates and loves the way my point exactly, Black Coffee. People are so funny. They constantly deny futurism. Ridiculous. It's the mixed messaging. And you can't have it both ways. You have to just shut the fuck up. Theo says, I don't think Tiffany is transphobic. I think she was clearly on a scripted show and she had been a ride or die for T.S. Madison. So let's talk about that too. Because a lot of people, because white people do the same thing when they say either some blatant racist shit or some racially insensitive shit. It'd be like, oh no, I have black friends. You can still be racist and have black friends. Hell, even Even the slave masters had black overseers. So just like racist people can still have black people in their spaces and still be fucking racist, like so can cis hetero people still be homophobic and transphobic and have trans and homosexual friends. Because what I like to do is call that exceptionalism. Just like me, as a queer man in all of my glory, my cousins and uncles love me. But I've also seen how some of them move toward other queer people who do not have the same access to that support and love that I have, because I only have it because of my proximity to these men. So you have homophobes who have homosexual brothers, lesbian sisters, trans men and women as siblings who don't give their siblings any grief and love their siblings, who still go out and drop the F-bomb on everybody else on the queer spectrum, or who still feel very uncomfortable regarding the entire LGBT spectrum. So just because Tiffany Pollard is close to Madison doesn't mean she's not transphobic at all. And just like Tiffany Pollard would never sit in T.S. Madison's face and say she got a sweaty dick and she looks like a man, but she turned around and completely disrespected another woman who she thought was trans, just proves my point about exceptionalism. Being the exception to the rule means just that. But the fact that I even have to be an exception to garner your respect still means you're a fucking transphobe. Or you were still a fucking homophobic. Because if you wasn't, I wouldn't even need to be an exception. I could have my big sweaty dick and my big old hands and my big old feet and my big old Adam's apple, and you would be just fucking fine if the truth was you are just fine. Like I said, I think that Tiffany Pollard is a low level threat, but she's still transphobic. She inherited and has internalized transphobia and homophobia just like everybody else in this country, which is an issue that's still plaguing the queer community themselves. You have grown ass LGBT people across the spectrum who are still struggling to accept and love themselves because they also have internalized that homophobia and transphobia as well. And so we're all wrestling with this operating system that's been in our lives from the time that we've been in this world. And getting free of that doesn't come overnight. And being free of that is not necessarily represented as a straight person in having queer friends. It really means truly seeing other people as equal and truly seeing everyone as an essential creation. It means truly that down to the bone, to the point where if you did give birth yourself to a person on the spectrum, that you could love, support, nurture, and encourage that. But we know that there's a particular community who really struggles with that, and it's the Black community. Because when Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union came out publicly supporting their trans daughter, the people who had the biggest issue with it was our people. And I saw many people who had claimed that they were for the community, pro the community, all of a sudden change up their posture and sit up straight when it came then to the children, because now homosexuality and transgenderism is too close to fucking home. Yeah, I can deal with it as my friend. I can deal with it as my cousin. I can deal with it as my brother, baby. But my children, way too close to home. that's when the so-called pro-LGBT straight folk draw their line. Their line. Their line. So it is kind of a difference of opinion. I do understand, Theo, you saying that you don't believe, because I understand like why you're saying that, and I get it. It's just that for me, I just believe that we've all inherited homophobia and transphobia. We've all inherited that, and most people still succumb to that conditioning in one way or another, even if it's on a micro level. Like, yeah, I'm good with queer people as long as they don't move in my fucking neighborhood, or as long as they don't become a teacher to my child, or as long as they're not my daycare provider, or as long as my children don't come out trans or queer. Other than that, I'm completely fucking fine. Or because, you know, I have a queer relatives, but then can still get out here and act ignorant toward a trans woman. Because what if that would have happened to be a trans woman? What actually would have been the fucking point of Tiffany Pollard berating this woman? And then for her to sit and berate this trans woman as if this woman even owed her that. Bitch, she don't owe you her gender identity. You don't get to call somebody out of the closet, and a trans woman don't owe you shit about her identity. And so for you to berate her and use the way she looked to provoke her to answering to you, out of order. Bitch, you out of order. You out of order. Especially as a cis hetero woman who has gotten your ass injected, who has gotten your titties implanted. You got a whole fucking wig on your head, bitch. You have transformed, and it has been your right to. So who the fuck are you to berate another woman? Or any other human being at that? Now, this just happened to be a cis hetero woman, but who Tiffany believed she was talking to was a trans woman. And I want to know why that same love that she showed to T.S. Madison when she's shaking her titty on her bench and in the basement of her house, while she's opting off of T.S. Madison's following, why you did not distribute that same love and inclusiveness to other trans women, because it was an opportunity for you to see T.S. Madison in that trans woman that you sat before, and berated about her big sweaty dick. I want to know, if you would not have done it, and you have not done it to T.S. Madison, what made it okay for you to think that you could do it to another trans woman and claim to be pro-LGBT and claim to be inclusive and claim to be an ally to the community? So you thought that being an ally was by playing into the same stereotypes and using the same attributes to justify and conjure up transphobia? That's what you thought to do. Okay. I don't know what T.S. Madison has had to say. I'm not sure if T.S. Madison has spoke out. But I'm about to end this live, you guys, because I got to go. But we'll call we'll come back and get into it. My phone about to die. I'm using my damn hotspots. So I'm gonna have to biggity, biggity, biggity bounce. But I love you all. We will talk soon.